Hit the keyboard a few times. Any pop up? No. I said, okay. Hit the power button on the server. I said, are there any lights in the server? Yes, there's a green light in the server. Okay.
Okay.
So there should be something. So let's power it off and power it back on because it's nothing. She says she couldn't get it on the screen. Powers back up and she gets something about she. I don't know why. I don't even know remember what it said, but she couldn't read it to me. It was in English, but she says something about a RAID array. Okay, something about a RAID. Okay, that's not. It says something about forming.
Maybe give me 1 second, Matt. My dog's. I have to edit this part short. Let me write down what time we're actually. Jeez, good old Duke for you. Give me 1 second. Let me go get him. Hey, what are you doing? All right, he has his toy. He should be a happy camper, hopefully. So
We had toys for customers to give them to play with while their servers are down.
yeah,
Make them happy.
there you go. So hopefully Duke shuts that up now. So I'm going back. So she powers on the server and she sees a message in regard to some RAID array.
Yeah, it's saying something about the RAID array, and it says there's a foreign disk or foreign array. I said, okay, well that doesn't sound very good. Let me send somebody over there. And of course, you get the standing. Well, when are you going to come? Well, we're going to come. We're going to leave. We're going to leave right now. But they're about a half an hour away. He's going to leave right now. He's on his way. I tell him, I got one of my texts. Go out there. Let me know what you find. Give me a call. He goes out there and he sees the same thing. The array, all the drives are switching. On these servers that have hot swap drives, on the front they have lights, green or orange.
Okay.
Green meaning good, orange meaning bad, or red. Half the drives are orange. He goes in there to the RAID management, and it says foreign array disk, no arrays are corrupted. All the bad things you want to hear about arrays.
Sure.
So I said, okay, we'll bring it back over here. I said, just tell them we have better tools at the office to handle this kind of thing.
Now, at this point, when you're telling a customer that we have to take your server away, there's always that unsettling. Okay, how do I break this to them? Am I right?
Well, yeah, yeah, and of course, let's not forget we were messing with the backup the night before. So of course, she's on the phone to me. Is this caused by the backup tape drive? I said no, because it was working fine this morning. I rebooted last night when I got at 10 o'clock. It was working fine. You were working fine this morning. I said it's not related. I said this is an old server. I think we've recommended 2 years ago that this server needed to be retired and replaced. It's not the first time it's going out. The server's had issues before, but they're really trying to get their last penny
Right.
server. And a reminder, you have no backup. So we're going to hope for the best, but I want to prep you that you may have lost everything. Because let's remember, she took 3 weeks to get back to me after the quote, not to mention the months that she wasn't monitoring the backup.
Right.
So I said, bring the server over here. He, of course, the server is doing DHCP. So in the meantime, so they can get online, what little constellation that is, set up the router to do DHCP, release and renew all the computers. At least they can get online and surf and infect their computers while we have the server. Bring the server back, and yeah, it's a mess. It's a mess. And this is where it can be intimidating if you're new to servers, and it intimidates me when I look at them like, okay, I'm already worried because they have no backup.
Right.
If they had a backup, I would be less nervous. But I'm thinking about this client and how they can lose everything. So me and a few other techs are looking at it because we're trying to figure out what's the best thing to do. So in the end, it said it happened all at once. I mean, all the drives went offline at the same time from what we can tell in the logs. So we think, well, maybe it just had a hiccup. So You go into the RAID array, and every RAID array management software is different.
That's correct.
So you have to be careful about how some things are worded and how something, because one thing might mean one thing on a Dell PERT controller. It might mean something else on a smart array controller. So really, before you click things in a RAID array, especially with no backup.
I know. And then, as you stated, if you've been inside a RAID array type of BIOS looking screen, it can be very intimidating because there's no are you sure's, but it's
They're vague.
Right, exactly. So
are you sure you want to initialize this array? What does that mean? It's going to erase it? I mean, sometimes their wording is like, what does that mean? Are you sure you want to do this? Like, I don't know. Can you explain it better to me? That's when you got to get online and maybe find a manual and see what you're doing before you do it.
Okay, so it's you and the other guys, and it's like an episode of House on Fox, and you're trying to diagnose the patient.
Right. I say we just call it. But they so what we get is we looked at, okay, saying it's got foreign configs. So in this utility, you can you can open the config and you can just see what the config is. Meaning says it's a RAID 5. This says it's a hot spare. So you can see what that RAID config is.
Okay.
And we're looking at, I think they had 5 of them, 5 foreign config files. No, I have no idea where this came from because we never had 5 config files. We have 1. So we go into each one. First one we see, it says 1 RAID 5 with 2 hot spares. Okay, we know that's not accurate. We delete it. Basically, we go through all the foreign configs, and we realize they're all weird, and we just delete them all. Delete all the foreign configs. We're left with 1 config file. So we save that config file, and we reboot. Now, it boots up to something different.
Different operating system?
Before it would stop at that config saying foreign array found, what do you want to do?
Okay.
And when you click it, nothing would happen. It would say RAID array is no good.
Okay.
At least now, after deleting all those foreign config files, we reboot, we see something that's better. Windows cannot find system32, whatever.
Okay, so it's actual Windows is spitting back to you an error.
Yeah. Okay. So that whole thing, which is better, at least it's better than before. It knows it should be looking for files and it can't find it.
Okay.
So we get, I think it was NTFS boot or something we boot up to that, and we go into it says something in System32 is missing, what it looks for when it boots. Mm-hmm. We look at NTFS DOS, the whole System32 folder is gone. There is no System32 folder.
And I remember you having something very similar in a past episode.
And we look around, there's a lot of folders missing. Now, this is just what it looks for when it boots. So that's what it spits back first.
Okay.
So now, this could be scary too. If you're not familiar with... Because people want to make servers more complex than they really are. Mm-hmm. That's a common mistake when dealing with servers, that they're some kind of special breed. It's really not. It's really the same thing. It's the same hardware, except you might have a RAID array, which is a driver in Windows.
I'm not sure. In fact, it's funny that you say that because we had a buddy this morning who he asked me, is a server just a special PC? I go, pretty much. He goes, but when you approach a problem, you kind of treat it with different gloves than you would your workstation,
So in this case, what would you do if you had a computer boot up to that?
I would try to extract if that many folders are missing, I mean, I guess if it was XP
for a workstation too, yeah.
Right, you can try to do a reinstall of the OS on top of it.
With servers, is not as good because of Active Directory.
Right.
And there's no backup. So in this case, we ran a check disk.
Oh, good call. Yes.
Ran a check disk, and it took a while to run. I mean, the more corruption there is, it took a while. It took a couple hours to run.
Oh, and every 10 minutes that passed by, Did the client call you up or email you or wanting a status
Can't
update?
email me. Can't email
That's
me.
right. Well, in case they're, yeah, true.
They do call. They call. Because of course they worry. It's like their sick kid. But we assure them we're still working on it. As soon as we know something, good or bad, you'll get a phone call.
Okay.
But that doesn't stop them from calling. They're still going to call every hour.
Oh, sure.
Can we get an update? Yes, the update is we still don't know, and we'll call you soon.
It's at 28%.
Yeah, right. What does that mean? Tell me these are. I tell them these are random numbers. Really, Windows has no idea how to estimate
No.
this. I mean, whatever number, it could be 99% and take 10 hours.
What's the check this and a /F? It's 3 phases, right? And then a full one is 5 phases.
Check it, yeah. So it was, and it's just check this slash. Is it P? I think.
I know. Then yeah.
If you do, I always forget. So I always do CHK DSK, space / question mark, and I find them. I think it's /P, which implies /R. So this runs, and guess what? We reboot. What happens? Windows boots up.
No way.
Yes. Yay.
So you
Windows
get
boots up.
the server login bots.
Get a login screen. Log in. But it's not all happy. Whatever's happy for you. I can't even think of flowers and spices. It boots up and it logs in, but Exchange information store is corrupted.
How about any type of shares? Are they all been retained?
Those seem fine.
So the files and folders are there,
Yep.
data.
All the shares there. All that's there.
But the mailbox store took it down.
Mailbox store will not mount. So, first thing I do, grab an external hard drive, run a backup. Just to back up data and Active Directory. So we let that backup run. And of course, they're calling. I called and let them know, one, the server's up and we're able to get and I'm running a backup right now. Oh, great. Can you bring it out? Well, not so fast because the backup's going to take 4 or 5 hours at least. And after that, the email store is corrupted. We're going to have to try and repair that. Oh, okay. So they're happy that they didn't lose everything. Now the worst they can do is lose our email.
Right. Which is still, it still hurts, but doesn't hurt as like the whole entire box.
Right. And it wouldn't be the end of the world because they do have their OSTs on their local computer. So if need, we could extract their OSTs and save mail that way.
Gotcha.
That's just more work, of course, and more money to run and do that.
But is it good that you could provide the client an update? It's getting better.
Yeah, it's getting better. It always seems to get better before it gets worse.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, we're running a backup, and that puts them over for now.
Okay.
But then you got to fix Exchange. Of course, that can be intimidating for some people. I've had to do this quite a few times. For whatever reason, Exchange databases are very fickle. You gotta. There's some utilities. We're not going to go into it completely, but basically, it's just some utilities that one try and repair the Exchange database.
Okay.
ESEutil is what you have to run. So ESEutil space / question mark will show you all the switches. I was trying to run it, and at first it wouldn't even run. It would just error out as soon as I try and run it with some kind of weird errors. And I didn't document them because really by this time I just want to get it back up. So I'm doing some research and I find a few things to try. And finally I get the ESEutil to run. And it runs and it runs and it runs and it runs. This can take a while, longer than the check does sometimes, a couple hours. This runs, and I usually start it on the, of course, with Exchange, or at least there's a private store and a public store. The private store is, of course, all the mailboxes. Public store is any public folders that they have. So the public folders, this company was not using public folders, but I like to run the commands in the public store first because, of course, it's much quicker